Hi there. You guys are on mute. We haven't been able to hear you at all.
No.
There you are. We weren't able to hear anything. I'm not sure if we were supposed to, but we had you on mute.
All right, I have to start this meeting over then because no one was able to hear me. So we are calling this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Gloucester Licensing Board. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, the time at 2024, and the time is 6:39 p.m. We are meeting here in person as a hybrid meeting at the Harbor Masters Conference Room located at the Harbor Masters office at 19 Harbor Loop, number 2 in Gloucester, Mass. This is the first hybrid meeting we have held in some time. Tonight, we are allowing our applicants to Zoom in. However, going forward, we will have applicants meet in person. With that being said, I'm going to read the open meeting law notice effective August 16th, 2023. The public is welcome to attend in person at our meetings. Alternatively, the public may attend through the Zoom link below. That is the public, not necessarily the applicant. Meeting notice will reflect if the meeting is Zoom only. As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allows, this board may continue to hold meetings remotely. Please note the in-person meetings will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. And as you just witnessed, we do have technological problems sometimes. And we will do introductions. We'll start with John.
John Lemmerman, board member.
Melissa Prince, board member.
Ted Costa, board member.
Natasha Dale, admin.
Thank you. Our first order of business is one of many public hearings, the petition of Thomas Aurelio to change the category of an annual liquor license for the Salted Cod Art House LLC, 53 Rocky Neck Ave, from only wine and malt liquors to also include cordials and liqueurs. And we have Thomas Aurelio in attendance. Tom, is there anyone else in this meeting you would like to speak on your behalf?
Yes, please add Matt Moynihan is on, if you could promote him.
Yep, we see Matt Moynihan.
It takes a minute.
And Tom, while we're waiting, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure, it's Thomas Aurelio. Home is 189 Atlantic Road in Gloucester.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Matt should be coming on soon.
Can you hear me?
We can.
We can hear you, can't see you, but we can hear you. Yep.
All right, great. Thank you. Matt Moynihan, 2 Windward Point, Gloucester, Mass, East Gloucester.
Thank you. Do you have your audio on? Or video?
I have
should
audio and
say?
I just pulled over. I was driving back from a meeting, so I'm here.
Okay. Thank
We
you.
can see
I
you.
Thank you.
agree to that. Okay, so the petition tonight is to change. Please inform this board of what you want to change to and why.
So we would like to add, we've been opened as a wine and beer establishment since February of last year. And we would like to add cordials to be able to serve some special cocktails that will go with things like Aperol Spritz, the ability to do other aperitifs. Not sure where that blip is coming from.
Yeah, it sounds like windshield wipers.
Yeah, it might be his audio.
There we go, it's gone. Sorry about that. We were just hearing a noise and trying to figure it out.
Nope, no
So-
worries. So, yeah, so it's, we picked up quite a nice crowd. It's working out very well from the local restaurants. We're picking up a nice dinner crowd. And I wanted to be able to do aperitifs, dessert type drinks.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. I'm hearing great things about Salty Cod.
Thanks.
Your capacity there is what again? 50
50.
something?
50, yep. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, we are petitioning the city to also increase our seating because we turned into just a standing. So I'm not challenging the capacity of the building, but our ability to have more seats would be great.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like we've had pretty good reception locally, and we're just trying to broaden while staying true to our mission, as best we can to accommodate more people. We have I would say our crowd is on the older side generally, particularly in the off season. And so the seats would go a long way to have people not stand or leave because they don't have seating. And we feel the capacity is sufficient, but this cordial license would go away to expanding our menu to create more options for the clientele that come in. And again, it doesn't change our mission at all, but it does, broaden our ability to make ends meet, particularly in the off season as we're staying open, not just seasonal, but year round.
And are you open 7 days a week right now?
We are open.
It's Wednesday.
I'll
So go ahead,
go
Tom.
quickly. So we're full hours. We are Wednesday through Sunday. On Monday and Tuesday, we open for private events. So technically we're there and available. So we run a lot of people can rent the whole bar on those 2 days. It's very quiet on Rocky Neck. But we do post a lot of events. I've got one next week. We've had a lot through the holidays, so that's keeping us going through the winter.
Yeah, we actually had our first wedding on New Year's Eve. this
We
year,
did.
So
That's great to hear.
Mhm.
And those hours are winter hours, right? Are you open to Monday and Tuesday in the summer, or is it still for private events?
It's summer, we're every day.
Okay.
Yep.
So out of curiosity, my question, and then I'll turn it over to the two members, this is my last question, is I want you to define what you believe cordials and liqueurs are to be. In other words, what are you adding to your,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a fair question. Yeah, I think it's a fair question. Yeah, we've had tremendous luck with just even serving spritz. We've been using French wine to make our spritz. So I would like to do things like add Aperol, have Aperol spritz, Bailey's type drinks that could go into enhance our coffee. We've got an espresso machine, and people have asked for things like that. If we could have some cordials added to that, so things like Bailey's Irish Cream, Amaretto, and then even an off one would be like things like a creme de menthe. I'm thinking I would also like we got a very European vibe, so to be able to have like a limoncello or a sambuca, I think would be great.
So I look to you in the experience of the alcohol business. I'm just wondering what the legal definition is of a liqueur so that it will not be confused with what a full liquor license can offer.
I'll tell you, it's
Want to be clear on that.
yeah, no. So I've been working with the wine vendors, and they actually supply the list to me of what's considered to be a cordial, and it goes by not alcohol content, it goes by sweetness. So that's why things like Aperol, et cetera, are on there, and Sambuca. It's a sweetness. Obviously, your vodkas and gins are not on there.
Right.
yeah, and Tom, we cross-referenced that with the at least the Massachusetts state list, and it seemed like they were one and the same. Is that not right?
That is correct. And then I've also worked with the wine vendors are, waiting for approval, and they've already told me what I could get or what I could not get on the license.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically it's, if you think about it, you got a nice coffee, add some Baileys to it, right? You add, something to maybe some Chambord to a glass of champagne,
Right.
it's a little raspberry liqueur,
Yeah.
so those type of things.
So to be
Yep.
clear, would you be serving just Sambuca or just Bailey's? Or is it adding it to?
Probably both. Like if somebody wanted just like we do right now with port wine, which is actually stronger than some of those things, like
Yeah.
port wine would come in a port wine glass. So I imagine that people would do a Sambuca on ice is just a very normal drink that you would get at a bar.
Yeah, I think just from personal experience being in there, we had someone in the other day, probably 3 months ago now, coming off one of the boats and said, we'd like 10 shots of something we actually had, and we refused it because that's not what we're there for, right? This is really expanding the menu to include more of the, complimentary cocktails associated with the appetizers and, things we serve. So not looking to rank with the mission. So.
Okay, questions to John and Ted?
No, I think you answered, you know, what type of drinks that they're thinking of being able to provide, so I'm happy with that.
Okay.
As long as they know there's no vodka, gin, you know, hard
Yeah.
liquor.
I wouldn't have the room for it anyway. I mean, to get into that, I don't want to be that bar and I don't have the room to do that.
Ted, do you have any questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. So we have a public hearing. Is there anything else you want to add before I open the public hearing?
No,
No, just appreciative for the support thus far. It's so far, it's, you know, worked out well and we're doing our best to stay open year round. Thank you.
Thank you. So just so you know, there is no one here physically from the public in attendance at this meeting. We have 3 attendees online. I don't know if they're here for the public hearing, but I will open the public hearing. If there is an attendee online that would like to speak to this application and you want to address the licensing board, can you please raise your hand? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and note that there was no one in attendance from the public to speak. Okay, so now we discuss the petition. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the petition of Thomas Aurelio to change the category of the annual liquor license for the Salted Cod House LLC, 53 Rocky Neck Avenue, from wines and malt liquors to also include cordials and liqueurs. And I so move.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Okay, discussion. So I just want to put on record that this is the first request I've seen for this type of license in a few years, and I don't know that there are any in existence in Gloucester. I know there used to be one where the Drift is located years ago, prior to me being on the board.
Sugar
I'm
Mags.
not that familiar.
Sugar Mags.
Sugar Mags
Have
has
cordial.
cordials as well, okay. I don't know that they're listed as that, because when you look at our quota, it says we have 0 wine, malt, and cordials. So with that being said, I support this application. I think you have the perfect setting for this. You have proven that you are committed to this community and have invested in your business substantially. I think you have a great crowd down there and that there's a need to expand your options. So I just want to go on record before the vote, just saying that I support this application.
thank you.
Any other comments?
No.
Just want to be clear that because this is new to me, the cordials and liqueurs part, that we just assure us that we will comply with the laws and regulations of this type of license.
No, absolutely. And I'll tell you, safeguards are actually in place through our vendors. They wouldn't even, they are telling me what we would be allowed to do. They wouldn't sell it to me without.
It's good to hear.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The vote carries.
Thank
So,
you.
the licensing board has approved your request, and now we will send it off to the ABCC for their approval as well.
Okay, thank you.
So you may hear from them.
Thank you very much.
If this is something you want to expedite, what I would do is wait a day or two, and you can call the ABCC and find out what the timeline for their approval would be.
Okay,
Something that you, because I know you put this off for a month at our request, because you were requesting this during our license renewal, so we
Yeah.
asked.
so that's fine. This is we're actually a little bit of a quiet month. So I'll give it a couple of days, then give them a call.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have any questions for us while you're here?
No, thank you for all your support.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Next order of business is a public hearing petition of the transfer of an annual section 15 package store wine and malt beverage liquor license from Ragab Inc., manager of record Madden Man Mahat to Dogtown Variety Inc., DBA Boulevard Variety, manager of record Albert Abdelmac at 33 Weston Ave. And I apologize if I said those names incorrectly. So who is here to address this request? I see there's an Albert. If the parties are here, could you please raise your hand and request to participate?
Oh,
Do
there he
we
goes.
have Albert?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me. You hear me?
Oh. We can't see you.
Yeah, you have to turn on the camera.
Can you put your camera on, please?
Yes, 1 second. I don't use the, yeah, you hear me now?
We can hear you and see you. Thank you. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
The address,
Your
The
name, your address.
Albert Abdelmalek. And the address is 139 R King Street in Groveland.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is a petition to transfer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience in the liquor store business?
Yeah, I have a store in Wenham for since 2011. We sell, it's the same thing as a store I'm gonna get. It's sell beer and wine and cigarette lottery. So I have the experience for almost 13 years. Even before I used to work in a store too. We have the TIPS certificate, and all the employees have certificate too. And I like to get the store in Gloucester.
Okay. I'm sorry, you have a store where?
In Wenham.
Wenham? Okay.
Mhm.
I wanted to see, hold on, I'm just looking at your application. John or Ted, do you have any questions on this application?
How long have you had the store in Wenham?
13 years.
Virginia.
And are you the manager of record on that license as well?
Yeah, I have been for that work for many years, so it's my job.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sorry, we're just looking at your application, that's all, I'm sorry.
This is Attorney Tom Truax. I can't get, I'm not being shown I'm not being elevated, promoted.
Are you representing this matter?
Yes, I am, but I'm online, but I can't, I see you, but you're not seeing me. You have not
Okay, hold
promoted.
on. Hold
I've
on,
tried
I
to
just
promote
promote
him a
you,
few
hold
times,
on.
and it's not working.
It's not working?
No, I've tried to promote him because Allison said that he was representing, so let me see.
Well, he just disappeared, so maybe he's coming. That's right.
Oh, there he goes. Yes, I'm mute.
Now you're muted. You're muted, Tom.
Can't hear you right. Oh, there you go. Okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Attorney Tom Truax, 530 Loring Avenue, Salem, Massachusetts. And I'm here on behalf of the proposed transferee, Dogtown Variety, Inc. And you've already met Albert Abdelmalek. He's the sole principal of that corporation. He's also the proposed license manager for the corporation. The underlying transaction is fairly straightforward. It's a purchase of all the assets of Ragav Inc., DBA Boulevard Variety, 33 Western Avenue in Gloucester. That purchase and sale agreement also includes the transfer of the Section 15 package store wines and malt beverages license that is being exercised at that location. There is no financing involved in this transaction. As for Mr. Abdumalik, I know you've already asked him a few questions, but I'll give you some more details. He's the owner of, he comes before you with over 11 years of experience. He started the Wenham store. I was with him back in 2011, 2010 when we started the process. This was a brand new license in Wenham. They had never had a package store before. And so after about a year's worth of work on it, we're able to get the approval of the board in Wenham. And we're the first, Albert was the first package store in Wenham, and he continues to this day as being the only package store in Wenham. I've been to that store many times. I know he's remodeled it. He's done a lot for that store, and he runs a very successful operation on Route 97, right at that intersection, just off, about a mile off Town Square. As for experience, he indicated he's been there for 12 years. He's operated there. He knows what he's doing. He has a good staff there now. He is a licensed manager there. But because of the fact that he's had such experienced staff there, he has a manager there with 3 employees. He's able to handle that. He really doesn't have hours at that store, so he will be able to devote full time to the new Gloucester store. He will be operating the store in the same manner it's being operated now, same store hours, same store layout. He will be retaining one of the employees, and so there will be a continuity of operation at that location. And he has a real good track record over in Wenham, and I know you can ask a lot of the people there. It's a small town, and they'll tell you the same thing. I run into people every once in a while that I deal with, and they know that store very well. They know Albert. In fact, I just ran into someone recently who said, I know Albert. He lives in Hamilton, and the person I met lived in Hamilton. And so I know they run a good operation. I think they're going to bring the same type of good operation to your store in Gloucester. And he really emphasizes customer service. And so I think that's going to be something he will bring to the Boulevard variety as well. And of course, we will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. That was helpful. Do we have any questions?
No, I think that was great.
Thank you. I just have one question. Just did a quick research in Wenham and didn't see any issues. So in the 12 years or 11 years that this package store has been open in Wenham, have there been any concerns from the community, police department, town leaders regarding the management of the business?
I mean, the initial, because it was the first license in Wenham, we went through public hearings and because people were about having a package store in that neighborhood. And we assuaged all the concerns, and the board was 100% behind us. And I know the community, all their concerns, they've gone away. People have not in my backyard type of thing. Because it's a very nice residential area just across the street from the store. But there's been no concerns, and in fact, people are happy to have it. It's an asset to the community.
I agree. Okay, I just want to have it on record that there's been no issues other than startup, and understandably so when you have a dry town or a town that doesn't have package stores. I'm sure the first one will cause some controversy just because of change. But I just wanted on record before I open the public hearing that there have been no issues since the opening of the store regarding the management of the location in Wenham.
All right, there was one. I'm just going to be because I asked Albert this. At the beginning, I think it was like within a year, there was a new employee there. There was a minor violation, a sale to a minor, but that was in 2012, I believe, but there's been nothing since then. And that employee no longer works there. He hasn't worked there for ages.
So were there any change to policies and procedures as a result of that, or do you think it was an employee error alone as opposed to a process issue?
Employee and Albert wasn't there at the time. And he went and they had obviously they had a hearing. I wasn't present at the hearing, but I spoke to the board afterwards, and they were satisfied. I'm not sure what what penalty I did. Albert will have to tell you on that one. I just know that the employee was dismissed, and it's been a clean record ever since. And that's pretty good with package stores that go 12 years without any violations.
Thank you. I just want to say the police department in Gloucester is very active looking for minors purchasing and fake IDs and things like that. I know With technology the way that it is today, it's almost impossible sometimes to tell the difference. But there is a liaison to the police department, Sergeant Sean Connors, that when there is a issue with a license or a minor, and alcohol, you can reach out to him directly. If you confiscate the license, you can bring it to him, or if you have questions or need assistance with it, he's ready and available to help. It is a concern in this community, as I'm sure it is with other communities. It just seems like in Gloucester, it's a very active conversation throughout the establishments about minors, attempting to purchase or sell alcohol, get access to alcohol. So I would just be, conscious of that, which
Yeah,
I would say
we-
that to anybody, not just this applicant.
Understood. I have 3 other clients that have package stores in Gloucester, and they've told me, that, and they all run a tight ship, but they know that the Gloucester, the police department are ready to help them out anytime.
So I'm just hearing that your client is committed to that issue.
Yes, he is, of course.
Okay, if there aren't any further questions, I'm just gonna, for procedure's sake, I'm gonna open the public hearing and call it to order. Is there anyone, there's no one here presently physically, from the public at our meeting. Online, there's still 2 attendees. Is there anyone who would like to speak in the public hearing regarding petition to transfer this license, section 15 package store license at 33 Western Ave? If so, please raise your hand to be acknowledged to speak. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing and note that no one spoke at the hearing. And with that being said, if there are no further questions, is there a motion to approve the transfer? I just want to note that the application seems complete. In this transfer, I don't have any questions on the application itself. So is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the petition of transfer of the annual section 15 package store wine and malt beverage liquor license from Ragav Incorporated, manager of record Adam Man Mahat, to Dogtown Variety Incorporated, doing business as Boulevard Variety, manager of record Albert Alblamark at 33 Western Avenue, and I so move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further conversation, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, the vote carries. So this board has approved the transfer, and as you know, the next step is to go to the ABCC for their approval, so they may reach out to you if they have questions. Do you have any questions for us tonight?
No, we're good. Oh. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you and welcome to Gloucester
Thank you very much.
down there. Thank you, have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next order of business is a public hearing for a petition of Harbor 9 Golf Inc. is requesting a change of location and alteration of premises for their on-premise section 12 annual restaurant all alcohol beverage license from 501 Gloucester Crossing Road to 355 Gloucester Crossing Road. And we have an in-person representative. Good evening.
Good evening, Attorney Meredith Fine, 108 East Main Street, Gloucester, representing Harbor 9 Golf Inc.
Thank you, Attorney Fine. Welcome. Why don't you give us a brief update as to why we are here tonight? I know you spoke a little bit at our last meeting, but it wasn't really on the agenda. So we thought this was a settled issue and that Harbor 9 was going to be open. And here we are tonight discussing Harbor 9 and its location. So why don't you give us a little bit of background,
Sure.
what we're here and how we can help you?
So what we're here for is a change of location. I advertised, Allison was on vacation and I was sort of sprinting to get the ad in the paper. And I hadn't heard back from the ABCC investigators, so I advertised it as a change and alteration, just to cover the bases, but it's just a change of location. And what happened here was, this application got to the very end of the process. It was on the desk of the ABCC itself. And then somebody noticed that the actual licensed premises was not the same exact premises that the license has been with. The license has been with a restaurant in a different location in the shopping center.
Right.
And so, unbeknownst to anybody who understood the licensing piece of it, they didn't realize that when they moved it physically, that had to be voted on. So it's not, it's not a complicated thing, just getting the address right. And now we have, and I want to thank Allison too for making sure that we got the address right. So the actual address is 355 Gloucester Crossing Road, Unit C21. And that's the paperwork I'll drop off with Allison tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you. I see your clients are in attendance. Do they want to speak or are they just here
They're just here to
to answer
answer
questions? Okay. Ted Costa, John Lehman, any questions?
Just clerical as far as I'm concerned. I'm all set to go.
So my question to you is if we approve this tonight, are you set to go as soon as the ABCC approves it?
Thank you for asking that. The investigator, Mr. Balcom, says that he will schedule the inspection tomorrow
Okay,
and get up here as fast as he can, get it in front of the ABCC as fast as he can. Then we're not gonna have to wait 3 months to get a final decision.
so the business is ready to open and move forward.
As far as I know. In fact, they were disappointed that they couldn't be open New Year's Eve.
Okay, I just want to be able to tell people it's open because a lot of people are asking.
Good.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, if this was a public hearing, do we? have to
Oh,
go
yeah, I'm
through
sorry, I
the-
forgot about the public hearing part for processing. So I'm gonna open the public hearing on the petition of Harbor 9 Inc. requesting a change of location and alteration of premise at Gloucester Crossing. We have 2 attendees. One of the attendees is involved in this matter. Is there anyone that would like to speak during this public hearing to speak to this transfer? So please raise your hand to speak.
Is it Michelle?
I'm seeing none, and just a final note too, that there is no public attendees here in this office with us tonight. So I'm gonna close the public hearing and accept a motion to be,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the petition of Harbor 9 Golf Inc. in requesting the change of location and an alteration of premise for their on-premise Section 12 annual restaurant all alcoholic beverage license from 501 Gloucester Crossing Road to 355 Gloucester Crossing Road, Unit C21. And I so move.
Second.
give a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The vote carries.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully this resolves everything and we'll be going up to Harbor 9 Golf soon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Next order of business is a special 1-day license petition of Dan Clapp requesting to serve wine only mead during the So Salty event at Cape Ann Museum at 27 Pleasant Street on January 20th, 2024 from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I believe we are in the process of promoting someone because they were just here. Natasha, are we promoting?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't see either.
Yeah, they need to turn on their video for it to upload.
Okay, sorry.
I'm getting there. Can you hear me now?
We can.
The name's wrong down here. I'm Dan, not Deb.
Hi, Dan. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
So you're requesting a 1-day license. This is something you've done before, correct?
We've done plenty of 1-day licenses, but not at this event before.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the event and what mead is. I read your application to try to understand.
Yeah, so the So Salty event, which is taking place, I guess that's the 16th. 20th, I'm sorry. It's organized by Cape Ann Museum, kind of a community downtown event where they have a bunch of ice sculptures that people can parade and walk around town and, get things to eat and whatnot. And we got a hold of Cape Ann Museum, Melissa Aisling is one of the organizers, and suggested that it'd be nice to have a warm drink alternative to some of the other stuff that's going on and looking at the sculptures. And we, as a meadery, which is, if you're not familiar with mead, it's a wine made with honey. And we've been doing this for 9 years, going on 9 years now. And we serve both cups of mead and also make hot toddies out of mead and hot chocolate, and also make a spiced mead toddy with some hot apple cider.
Okay.
Dan, you're out of Ipswich, is that?
That's correct. Yep, we're out of Ipswich.
Okay. And where is this alcohol going to be served? In the museum?
No, actually, there's a courtyard right in front of the museum. In the package here, I think I've given a couple Google shots of the courtyard. It's a pretty good sized space where a couple of the sculptures are going to be set up. I think there's 10 going to be scattered around downtown, and there's 2 in the courtyard here. So people will be filtering in
What
and
is
out. We're going to set up a small tent over in the corner where we have a table and some coolers and whatnot, holding the hot beverages and serve from that tent.
Do you know what the capacity is of that space?
I do not know the capacity off the top of my head, or I don't think I ever got that information directly.
Okay.
I do have the dimensions in the
I've
description
seen
here.
it. I kind of have an idea of what it looks like. I just didn't know.
Yeah,
How many
it's
people
a
are
it's a fairly large space. Well, we don't really expect people to be congregating or sitting and stuff like that. There's going to be like a walking by, looking at the sculptures and you know, grabbing a hot drink while they're in the courtyard, and then they're going to move on to what the next thing.
So what kind of processes are you going to have in place to make sure that nobody leaves that area with alcohol?
Yeah, so if you look at the courtyard, on the diagram I made, there's two entrances into the courtyard. There's one that's right on the street. And then there's also one along the main entrance going into the museum. And both of them are fairly small entrances. And what we plan on doing is putting up a sign on each of those saying that no alcoholic beverages can leave the premises, that type of thing.
So does the sign include somebody with a watchful eye near those areas, or is it just a sign?
At this point, it's just a sign. We haven't specified that we're going to have an employee standing there or anything like that.
How many people are you expecting to kind of go through the time frame?
The museum said they expect around 1,500 people over the course of the whole event. And so, if you divide that between there's basically 10 until 5 is the actual event. We'll only be serving from 12 until 5. So, it's going to be in the hundreds of people per hour type of thing.
So, this would be considered like a patio outside, and there's rules by the ABCC for patio being fenced in and observed and things like that, so that it's a contained and controlled area. So in my opinion, alone, a sign isn't enough, especially if you're expecting that amount of people. So is there museum staff or some staff that can watch the entrance and the exits of this courtyard to assure that nobody is walking off with alcohol onto a very public road, a busy road right outside the museum?
Yep. Yeah, we can certainly figure something out. I could even send an employee myself. The other option is we could move the setup in between the two entrances, and having the people that are serving keep an eye on that as well, if that's a possibility. But we certainly could address that in whatever makes the most sense.
So how many certified people will be serving wine that day?
Right now, we're scheduled to have two. We could try more. We're not really, we're not really sure how busy we're gonna be at all, so we didn't want to overdo it, but but right now, I was thinking of two people.
So I'm gonna assume the best, right? And you're gonna have hundreds of people coming in that day.
Yep,
You have two tip certified people checking IDs at the tent. I don't see enough time to be watching exits and entrances as well.
okay,
I mean, serving, I don't know if you just heard our last conversation, but assuring that minors aren't being served is a topic of conversation very
yep,
frequently on this board. So not only of the checking of IDs is important, but also controlling that area and containing that area so that alcohol doesn't walk from that area is a
Okay.
priority. And I
Yep.
can tell you, my approval, I would set that as conditions that you have someone at those exit entrance
Okay.
point.
Do you think it would be necessary to have one person at each exit, or could there be one person that is keeping an eye on the two?
Well, if you're telling me hundreds of people, right? I mean, if you told me it was 50 people, that's one thing, right? But you're saying hundreds could go through this during the course of a day. I know it's daytime, so it's easy to see. But if you're at full capacity in that area, how is one seeing the other? I know the front exit. I don't know the side exit that well to know where it leads.
So it is.
It goes out onto the sidewalk,
So
out
both of
on
them
Pleasant
right out
Street.
the sidewalk?
Yep.
Yeah, one's just wider than the other.
Yeah, here's a picture.
You could
I'm
probably-
sorry, but hold on, I'm just looking for a picture. I thought one was on the
One
side
here, one there.
and the tent's gonna be over here.
Is there any reason he can't
I
close
almost
down one of
think
the
you
two
would.
exits?
I was gonna say maybe close down the center one.
So I'm wondering if you can have an entrance only one and an exit only one, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
With eyes out on the sidewalk either way. Just because it's important because of it's in the downtown area
Yep,
and it's on a busy street. So there has to be watchful eyes on this. I mean, I know it's wine and it's during the day, so I'm not too concerned. But if there's that many people, it's a great day. You never know, the police department's right across the street.
yep,
Might want to be cognizant of all that. So, I know for my approval, I just want to see more eyes on the courtyard
okay.
and
So,
the exit.
okay, so so if we have an entrance and an exit, and then one person dedicated to watching that, would that be good
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah, so just know that we have another establishment around the corner from there that often has functions as well. And we have them hire a police detail. I don't know that that's necessary in this situation, but I share the same concern of the need of a police detail. So I'm personally one vote, I'm not gonna say that you need a detail, but I just wanna make sure that that is a priority to make sure the alcohol stays in that licensed area.
Okay, that's a good concern, and I agree with it.
Are there any other questions, concerns?
You touch base on all
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Subject to,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special one-day liquor license petition of Dan Clapp requesting to serve wine only in the form of mead during the So Salty event at Cape Ann Museum located at 27 Pleasant Street on the 20th of January, 2024, from noon time to 5 p.m. and I so move.
second.
so we're just gonna amend this to have it subject to having one person, at least one person designated to assure the alcohol is not leaving the premises. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The vote carries. This sounds like a great event.
Yeah, it should be fun, and it's always nice to have these things in the winter, keep things moving along, you know.
Yeah, it's a good day. So is it family, you're expecting families to come or?
Yeah,
or-
there'll be groups of families coming in, definitely.
Excellent. All right, any questions for us?
No, I appreciate your guys' time.
So just know that you can, you get the license from our clerk and just make sure that that license is visible. And the alcohol is being served. So that if anyone does come in to check, they see that you're properly licensed for the event.
Okay, excellent.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you, guys. I
Happy New
appreciate
Year.
it. Yep.
Okay. Next order of business is discussion. The board will review the first draft of the Gloucester Licensing Board Alcohol Rules and Regulations. Okay, it is 7:30. I know there's bad weather out there. But this is put on the agenda for us to see the first draft of the work that we did in this room last May, I believe it was. So I'm curious to get some feedback. I mean, we're not necessarily gonna approve this all tonight. I am going to suggest that we could start tonight, go through and read out loud the sections and look for any changes or adjustments that need to be made so that we can report back to our city solicitor to either incorporate or change. I don't know how much of this has been reviewed by either of you.
I've got some original typographical issues to go through.
Yeah,
I
so,
don't think that we can resolve them in short time. Probably queue up a public hearing to accept this document sooner than later.
great. So regarding that public hearing, I don't know that we need to have a public hearing. We can just do a vote, but that's something we can discuss when we get to the end. So are we in agreement that we should start this process tonight, go for a little bit and see how far we get?
Sure.
Okay. Natasha, this is being recorded, correct? Just want to assure that, the
Yeah, I
city-
didn't touch anything.
the city solicitor can come back and listen.
Yep, it's just
Well,
recording.
to any notes. All right, we can actually take turns reading sections. I don't mind reading this first section. Some are longer than the other. Let's start with the mission statement. There is not a table of contents right now that it was intentionally left out. We intend to put one in once we establish what the contents actually is. Right off the bat, I'm also gonna suggest that we give section numbers to each category, so that we can refer to something as opposed to what page it's on, because different documents printed might be different pages. But let's begin this process, and I'll read the mission statement. To provide the community service to the city of Gloucester in processing, overseeing, and renewing the licenses for hundreds of establishments of various categories. Among the types of licenses are common victualler, annual and seasonal liquor licenses, lodging houses, inn holders, bed and breakfast, weekday and Sunday entertainment, automatic amusement, and special one-day licenses. How do we feel about that?
Fine by me.
My only concern is I think there are other licenses that we have purview that we just may not have addressed, so I just would like to add and other licenses under the purview of the licensing board.
So you want to open.
Yeah, and we just learned, or I just learned the not storytelling, psychic licenses come to us too. So I don't know what else is up there. Okay, who wants to read the next section? Ed, do you want to?
Yeah, do we want to read all 29 pages, or should we want to go where we find edits?
I think we should go through all of it because the public can look back at this meeting and hear how we got here, and so can the city solicitor. We don't have to do this all tonight. We can just do a couple pages tonight and
Okay.
finish at another date. I don't want to overwhelm, but I think we really need to go through this knowing that we discussed it and are aware of what's in the document so that when we put it to vote.
So the next section, message from the board. In issuing regulations, the Gloucester Licensing Board, as the local licensing authority of the city of Gloucester, is setting forth the conduct and expectations of all license holders operating within the city of Gloucester. The Gloucester Licensing Board has the authority to accept and reject applications that do not meet the minimum requirements of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission and or the city of Gloucester. License holders must familiarize themselves with these regulations and the laws of the Commonwealth and abide by the same. All licenses shall be provided with a copy of the rules and regulations of the Gloucester Licensing Board. The local licensing authority, LLA, for the city of Gloucester consists of 3 members of the Gloucester Licensing Board, appointed by, here is where one of my edits, it should say Mayor of the City of Gloucester, and confirmed by the Gloucester City Council, all sworn officers of the Gloucester Police Department or agents of the Gloucester Licensing Board. These regulations are adopted and may be amended from time to time by the Gloucester Licensing Board pursuant to Massachusetts general laws. Any and all alcoholic beverages and common victular licenses issued by the licensing board shall be governed by these regulations, Massachusetts general laws, chapter 138 and chapter 140, and the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission rules and regulations. Where a statute or an Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission regulations provides a stricter standard than that contained in these regulations, the stricter standard shall apply. Although we have tried to ensure that all topics are covered herein, these are not all encompassing or exhaustive. We trust that all businesses which are licensed by the Board of License Commissioners will operate safe, rule, and law-abiding businesses and will take all reasonable measures to ensure safety of the public and their employees.
Okay, I have I don't like the Board of License Commissioners. We're not licensed commissioners. I would just say, which are licensed by the Gloucester Licensing Board.
Yep.
I don't see anything else. Anyone else? Okay, John?
Requirement of the
You.
license. No individual or establishment may conduct any business for the service and or sale of alcohol, which requires a license pursuant to General Law C 138. Without first obtaining a valid license approved by the Gloucester Licensing Board. No license shall be issued unless the fees established by the commission have been paid.
Okay, I see 2. So did you say anything on that?
No.
So no individual or establishment may conduct any business for the service. I would say transfer and sale. Some people don't, and some members of the public don't understand you need a license just to transfer the alcohol, not just for selling and service. And then I'm wondering if we want to add Gloucester Licensing Board and the ABCC. Or do we need ABCC? What do you think on that? Because it says without first obtaining a valid license approved by the Gloucester Licensing Board, so we don't need ABCC as long as they know they have to be approved by them as well.
Right,
Great,
makes
all
sense.
right, so just, okay. Definitions, we can split this in 2 if someone doesn't want, that's me. ABCC shall mean Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, this is under definitions. Alcoholic beverages means alcoholic drinks or liquor as used herein may mean any type of alcoholic beverage, including wines, malt, cordials, and liqueur beverages. Does that cover all of them?
Yep.
Application shall mean, but not limited to the following, any application to the Gloucester Licensing Board to engage in the sale and distribution of alcoholic beverages, including application for a new license, an application for renewal of a license, an application for an alteration of premises, an application for a change of manager, an application of transfer of a license of stock, new officers and or directors of a corporation, change of stockholders in a closely held corporation, pledge of a license, change of a corporate name, change of DBA, and for a special one-day license. I just want to make sure that that lists, you know how when they fill out an application, I don't have one with me, on the top of it, there's a list of what they can check off. I just want to make sure that all that has all categories that are on the application. And we'll get back to that. Dormant license shall mean any license holder who ceases to conduct the licensed business. That is any license who closes business or stops doing business. My question to you on that is, do we want to put a time frame on that? Change of DBA, yes, we have more to add.
Yeah.
Just a couple more.
I believe someplace along this document do have a time frame. It says 30 days.
So. Business, it's funny you bring this up because I was gonna mention this before the end of the meeting. Businesses can close up to 30 days without being considered dormant, so do we wanna? Say
In
more than
excess of
30
30
days,
days?
in excess of 30 days without the permission of the board? Is any,
Yes.
in. 30 days. GLB shall mean Gloucester Licensing Board. Licensee shall mean any holder of a license issued by this State Commission Board pursuant to general laws, chapters 138 and or 140. Liquor license, he shall refer to the licensed pursuant to chapter 138. Section 12 licensee shall specifically refer to those licenses pursuant to chapter 138, section 12, which include all establishments that sell, serve alcohol to be consumed on the licensed premises. C, package store. Packaged goods store licenses, it's good,
Oh,
no good. Shall specifically refer to those licensed pursuant to chapter 138, section 15, which include all package stores, establishments that sell beverages not to be consumed on the licensed premises. Liquor licenses shall refer to all licensed,
If you just hold there for 1 second.
Yeah.
So what you're about to read is the same as A.
yeah,
And then if you look at the bottom of the paragraph, we see D, which should probably be up closer to C someplace. Grammatically, it doesn't.
right.
I think
So-
when it was dictated. we must-
Liquor license, where are you talking about?
right, right.
So this A is exactly the same here. So it's
Yeah.
repeated.
Okay, so we take that out.
And then D, probably down here with regards to cover charge. It's to move up under C. Is-
Well, I don't know that that is another separate conversation. I don't know that that belongs under what A, B, or C is trying to show. So this is a,
So later on in the document, cover charge is done by itself, so maybe it just needs to be.
this is supposed to be just definitions, and I wouldn't put cover charge definition under D. I don't even know that we need A, B, and C. Licensee shall be the holder of a license.
I think cover charge is different.
Yeah, so these are.
It doesn't need a D.
Why is there an A? No, I see ABC. I get that. I don't think we need a D for that. I think we just take
Just separate.
good out of C and then we'll talk that last one that you're referring to cover charge when we get to it.
Okay.
If that's okay. Local licensing authority, LLA, or authority shall mean those having legal authority to grant licenses and or regulate the operation of the licensed premises. GL refers to Mass General Laws, chapter and section. Patron shall mean invitees or guests legally on the licensed premises. Premises shall mean all land and buildings associated with the operations of the license. Any changes there?
No.
Rules and regulations shall mean a compilation of federal, city, and local regulations, ordinances, and laws set forth to regulate the manner in which businesses under it shall operate. Seasonal shall mean a business that operates less than 11 months in the calendar year. Seasonal alcohol licenses shall be valid for any duration between April 1st and January 15th of each calendar year. Year-round or annual shall mean a business that operates no less than 11 months in the calendar year. No less. Year-round shall mean business that operates no less than 11 months. Seasonal shall mean they're both saying less than 11 months.
Yeah.
So that's not right. Seasonal or annual license shall mean a business that operates 11 months 11 months or more in a calendar year, right?
Yes.
Because if not, it's seasonal. The term cover charge shall mean all admission fees or admission charges. So we need to get rid of the term, and just say cover charge unless we're gonna put the term in front of the rest of these,
Yeah, no,
right?
Let's say delete the term and delete D.
And delete. Where are you seeing D?
just the letter D.
Oh, I don't have that on mine. Oh, did I cross it off?
Yeah.
I crossed it off a while ago. That's right. Okay, got it.
do we need to add, BYOB as a definition?
Yep, we probably should. And we can get the legal definition of that unless you want to come up with it now, or
I think
unless
it's
it's
in
in
the
our,
document.
yeah, in the back, right? What page is it on?
Starts on page 24, I think.
Yep, bring your own bottle. So BYOB, should
The
be bring
definition
your
on the
own.
bottom, there's a definition of it on the bottom of that page, I believe is what they incorporated in the ordinance.
I think we can just say BYOB means bring your own bottle, because then it has its own section to define it.
Good.
I think we should just
Yeah,
define the acronym of BYOB like we did for MG, for Mass General Laws, or GL. Is that okay? Okay. All right, who's up next? Ted.
I'll start with licenses. Licenses, the Gloucester Licensing Board grants the following section 12 on-premise types of alcohol licenses under general law, chapter 138. And this is one that needs some work. The first one, club license. This license is issued to a nonprofit corporation or association for the sales of alcoholic beverages to members and subject to regulations of the Gloucester license of GLB to the guests of the members. Doesn't make sense.
Guests can, it should be to the guests of the members. So in other words, members can bring in guests. We can word it differently, but they're allowed to bring, members of the club can bring in guests from the public
Okay,
that aren't members, so just have to
Right.
figure out that language.
to the guest of the members, the license is issued pursuant to general law, chapter 138, section 12, as defined by general law, chapter 138, section 1.
Okay, so what do you want to make for changes? Anything?
Should we change it maybe to invited guests of the member?
To invited guests, that works.
Yeah,
Because I know the law states that they can bring in guests if the club owners allow it.
okay. That makes sense then.
Any other changes?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
2, farmer's market license shall mean a license issued pursuant to general law, chapter 138, section 5F. 3, farmers, brewers pouring permits / farmers wine pouring permits. These 2 types of specialized pouring licenses may be granted by the Gloucester GLB. A farmer's brewing permit may be granted to a holder of a farm brewing license issued by the ABCC. A farmer wine pouring permit may be granted to a holder of a farmer wine license issued by the ABCC. Both pouring permits allow only produce made by the farmers to be poured and sold. 4, general on-premise license. This license authorizes the sale of alcoholic beverages without a common victular license pursuant to general law, chapter 138, section 12.
Okay, so there we have a couple issues. So even club licenses or GOP licenses require a common victual license because every establishment that cuts a lime or a lemon needs a common victualler. So the language of that contradicts because they all need common victual licenses. And also, I believe, and I have to look into this, I believe the city ordinance states that all our establishments have to have food. So I have to figure out how the legal definition of what a GOP license is versus how it's actually regulated in Gloucester may be different. Because when we changed the early start time in Gloucester to be 8 AM, it meant for all establishments, and there was, believe we reviewed a city ordinance that states that all establishments had to serve food, whether they made it on premise or whether they went out and got muffins or something to go with that for early morning food. So we just need to look into that definition better. And I can talk to Rocco about that. Any other concerns with GOP licenses?
No.
Okay,
5, hotel license. This license is issued to an establishment that is licensed as an inn holder and has the equipment and the capacity for serving food. A hotel license that sells food must first be issued a common victular license under the provisions of General Law, Chapter 140. In addition, a hotel license that rents rooms to the public must also be issued an inn holder's license under the provisions of General Law, Chapter 140.
okay, just hold on a sec, because I know we're gonna have a few more hotel licenses pop up in Gloucester, so I just want to make sure this license is issued. Okay. I don't see any changes.
6, restaurant license. This license authorizes the sale of alcoholic beverages by an establishment licensed as a common victular that has the equipment and capacity for serving food. A restaurant license that sells food must first be issued a common victular license under the provisions of General Law, Chapter 140. This license is used pursuant to General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, as defined by General Law, Chapter 138, Section 1.
So it should be this license is issued. Used,
Let's say issued.
yeah. Okay,
7, tavern license. This license is issued to an establishment where alcoholic beverages may be sold and must be served and drunk by patrons in plain view of other patrons. All entrances to which shall be open directly from a public way. A tavern license may sell alcoholic beverages with or without food. A tavern license may not sell alcoholic beverages on Sunday. This license is issued pursuant to General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, as defined in General Law, Chapter 138, Section 1. 8, War Veterans Club, in parentheses, T Club license. The Gloucester Licensing Board must grant a license outside the quota system, subject to the ABCC approval, to any corporation whose members are war veterans, which owns, hires, or leases a building or space in a building for the use and accommodation of a post of any war veterans organization incorporated by the Congress of the United States to sell to members of that post only and subject to local licensing authorities to guests introduced by such members and no others.
the only thing I see with that is, we just have to have consistency, because if you look back at 1, it says GLB instead of Gloucester Licensing Board. And then down here it's spelled out, so you just have to probably be consistent in whether all of them use GLB or Gloucester Licensing Board.
Okay. We do define it, Tom, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Number 9, cordial and liqueur permit, is that spelled right?
liquor,
I guess so.
liqueur, yeah.
The Gloucester Licensing Board may grant a cordials and, spelled different.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second one's right.
A cordials and liqueurs permit to any common victualler who holds a wine and malt beverage license. A holder of a restaurant or hotel type license, and in some circumstances, a tavern license.
so we just gotta check the spelling of liqueurs and liquor.
The second one is right. but-
Yeah.
10, seasonal Section 12 on-premise license. The Gloucester Licensing Board may issue a license effective April 1st through January 15th.
Yes.
And then 11, special one-day license required for all indoor or outdoor events or enterprises that sell alcohol except for those held in a private residence. General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14. A one-day license may be issued for up to 30 days.
So that's confusing, because it sounds like you can get one license that will cover 30 days,
Yeah.
when it should be 30 individual days, so we just have to make sure that's clear. One applicant can file up to 30 applications per year. Okay,
So continuing on. The Gloucester Licensing Board grants the following section 15 off-premise type alcohol licenses under general law, chapter 138. One is a package store license. One package store license is a license pursuant to general law, chapter 138, section 15, where alcohol is sold for off-premise consumption. Two, a seasonal section 15 off-premise license is based on a quota set by the estimate provided by the Gloucester Licensing Board before March 1st of the temporary increased residential population as of the following July 10th. The estimate must be submitted to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission prior to April 1st. Off-premise seasonal licenses are issued based on the estimate at the rate of one license for each 5,000 population or fraction thereof, and can be issued from April 1st through January 15th, or any portion thereof as set by the Gloucester Licensing Board.
Yep.
The Gloucester Licensing Board grants special one-day licenses under General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14. This one-day license shall not be issued to any person or persons, associations, partnerships, or corporation already issued or in the process of being issued a license to sell alcoholic beverages approved by the Gloucester Licensing Board. Special licenses cannot cover any portion of the current licensed premise.
So I have a note here, this says C11, which is on the previous page, which defines special one-day licenses, and I'm wondering how we combine those two, so that we're only talking about like one-day licenses once.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we can buy it.
So I think we can combine those details. Do you agree, Ted?
Yes.
Okay.
Stan,
I'm just gonna propose, throw this out there, it's 10 minutes of eight.
Okay.
That if we can get through this next section until we get to the
the fees.
fees. Just do this tonight and then come back for the rest. At a later date, and it might take 2 meetings, and that's okay. But I think doing it in small sections and really focusing it and giving us a chance to really review. Like maybe do 5 more pages at the next meeting. Which will not be at our January 16th meeting, it won't be till February. Actually, February, I think is gonna be a quiet meeting. We can do the bulk of this at that meeting and work on it in the meantime, if that's okay. So John, standard of review.
Standard of review. In reviewing applications, the Gloucester Licensing Board shall determine whether the public need, public interest, and the common good will be served by granting the application. In doing so, the board may consider following. 1, the number and location of the premises for which licenses are currently in effect. 2, the nature and character of the operation proposed. 3, the sustainability and fitness of the applicant. 4, the qualifications of the proposed manager on the premise to be licensed. 5, any anticipated impacts of a license activity on the community, including but not limited to traffic and noise. 6, any anticipated impacts of license activity on the character of the city or the neighborhood. 7, any potential harms resulting from the licensed activity. 8, the applicant's compliance with state and federal requirements and these regulations. And so that might have to come out.
Yeah.
9, any advisory reports, adversary reports received by the board from the Gloucester Police Department, Gloucester Fire Department, city departments, and then maybe take out and again. 10.
Well, no, you would leave and if it's the final, but are there any other departments we would wanna list?
Board of Health.
Right.
I think you should just put the word in city
And city.
inspectional departments.
Oh, and city, and then any other city inspectional departments, or just city departments in general?
Inspectional, some of them will have jurisdiction.
Inspection. So it should say and city inspectional departments, and then now the and means the final one.
Okay, and 10, concerns raised by residents of Gloucester during a public hearing held by the board. Should the board be held by GLB?
GLB. Hold on, I thought I read something before. We can continue, yes.
Conditions, the GLB, figured you guys both read those. The GLB may place reasonable conditions on any license issued pursuant to these regulations, general law, chapter 138, and or any act of legislation related to the sale and distribution of alcoholic beverages, to provide public safety, health, welfare, and the promotion of public order.
Okay. Standard of review, I just want to go back to that. I thought I had read, and maybe I read it somewhere else in the document, so I just want to just put this out there. That I thought that we could consider any, the qualifications or suitability of anyone who has a financial interest in the license. I thought I
That
read
is
it
in
in
there
this
someplace.
document, but I just want to make sure that it's in the standard of review. So I'm just gonna throw down financial interest and we can get back to it. Or elaborate more before we send this off to executive session. Okay, and this will be the last section. Filing of applications. So this is the process of filing an application. Liquor license are granted under the authority of General Laws 138. All license applications must be complete in order to process the license and to be processed by the licensing board. The ABCC website, and it gives the address, has the retail license application for download. This is the key that this, these are done electronically. The computer is required in order to have access to the retail license application. Instructions regarding the license application are available on the ABCC website and from the Gloucester Licensing Board clerk. An application for a retail license requires the publication of legal notice in the Gloucester Daily Times, paid for by the applicant. Information regarding legal notice publication and notification to abutters and to the governing body of a school or church within 500-foot radius can be obtained by the licensing board clerk. While the licensing board clerk may assist an applicant with the filing of a retail license application, it is the responsibility of the applicant to fill out and complete the application and to include the supplemental documents required by the ABCC and GLB. It is the responsibility of the applicant to be fully versed in all relevant laws, rules, and regulations pertaining to the sale and service of alcohol beverages. No legal advice will be provided by the Gloucester Licensing Board. Ignorance of the law may not be a defense of procedural mistakes or illegal behavior. Incomplete applications will not be accepted for the board's review. The GLB has transitioned to an online permitting licenses and renewal system on OpenGov. To access the license application forms, applicants must use the online system to fill out the required form, print the forms, and return them to the clerk of the licensing board. The forms are available at the link below.
Should be on required forms, and then just singular. To fill out the required forms, print the forms.
Yeah. Are there any other changes in that section? Okay, it is important to note that completage, small c. Applications for license renewal must be submitted to the clerk of the licensing board by close of business on November 30th of each year. This is for renewals. If the GLB approves the application is transmitted to the ABCC for approval. If disapproved, the applicant may appeal to the ABCC under the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 138. Any questions there?
No.
I just find it odd that we talk about applications and all of a sudden we just throw in that renewal piece there. So I might want to come back to that. Applications regarding premises not actually in existence at the time of application will not be approved unless and until a building permit has been issued by the city of Gloucester and the applicant has filed with the application a plan showing the actual dimensions of the premises which should be constructed on which the license is to be exercised. If construction of the premises is not completed at the time the license is approved, the license may be approved on the condition that the construction shall be completed and as-built plans shall be filed prior to the issuance of the license. So I just want to go back to this whole procedure.
I was gonna say, shouldn't we also include in there appropriate approvals?
By the different boards,
Yeah.
by the different departments. So what I am seeing here that I would need to speak to Allison more about, because I don't know that our excellent Natasha replacement would know this question. So when we, and I've read this in other rules and procedures and other boards. I just don't know that we've done this in practice. So when we approve a license, it seems like we issue it right away. But by reading this, I see that we have the authority to approve that, yes, we're gonna give a license, but we don't actually hand a license over to the licensee until
All
they've
appropriate.
met the conditions. So I just want to have a conversation with Allison on how do we regulate that? So in other words, we approve the license, someone comes in, we're gonna remodel, we're gonna give you your license like we just did at the Cup, right? We didn't hold back the license until they built the Cup. I think we just issued the license.
But we also had contingencies on it,
We had what?
like contingencies, like you had to finish.
Right, but this is saying that we're not gonna issue a license until it's completed. So I like that idea. I agree with this language. I just want to make sure that we do it in practice. In other words, yes, we're agreeing that we're gonna give you a license, but we're not actually giving you the license until the premises is built. Which means there's some discretion in between those two actions. And I need to learn more about that. In other words, can we say, no, I'm not giving you your license because it wasn't built the way you said it was supposed to be built? I don't know. I want to find out what the board's discretion is in between this. Right,
Aware of.
but you know it will.
Right.
So I just want to address that, especially where we have
Well,
building going on in the city.
this is our regulation. I mean, this is what we're going to do moving forward. We're gonna educate all of our license holders on our new policies and procedures, so.
Right, but this could potentially happen very soon to us. So I just want to make sure that we know what our discretion is as far as approval versus giving them the license, or if we, is it giving a nod that we're gonna give you a license? Not that we have extra licenses to give, usually it's a transfer. So I guess the question is, but we could be getting more licenses in a year, so that conversation's coming. We need to find out more about that.
Mhm.
Approval, oh, here we go. Approvals of applications by the Gloucester Licensing Board are valid for 6 months from the date of approval by the ABCC. If such time expires before the license is issued due to the applicant's failure to meet all the conditions imposed by the board, the license will not issue due to the applicant's failure to meet all the conditions imposed by the Gloucester Licensing Board. The license will not be issued and the applicant must reapply and be heard before the Gloucester Licensing Board. Prior to the expiration of 6-month approval period, the applicant may petition the Gloucester Licensing Board for an extension of the approved period where an extension may be granted for good cause. So that falls right under my wanting to learn more about our discretion. So can we agree that I'll ask the city solicitor on, I agree with this language. I just want to make sure, how do we legally put into practice and what processes are we changing at our approval level to make sure that we adhere to the language that we want to have in our rules and regulations.
Yep.
And the next topic is filing fees and schedules, and we'll talk about if it's
The only thing I did see on that is there's no,
BYOB.
yep,
There may be other ones too, so we'll just have to review those for the next one.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but in some places in this document, we have a dollar sign and in the final right-hand column, we don't.
Right,
And then the only other thing to point out, if you were gonna take something up with the city's solicitor, is that we go on to discuss how to apply. And we share hyperlinks, and I did test them both, and they're both accurate, and you go to the respective pages, but when you go to the second hyperlink, the one in blue, it gives you a series of steps that include the annual safety inspection and the requirement for a Cory check. Should we?
is that the one, the Gloucester.gov
Yeah,
one?
Yeah. So we don't mention
The
that
forms
step.
are, well, it says the forms are, so what step are we not mentioning? That
We don't
Cory?
mention the annual safety inspection that needs to be done by all the places and Cory.
Okay, so we gotta look at that. We gotta go back.
So this is what it shows when you
So this
pull
is-
up to that page.
Yep,
Yeah, so that's, I just clicked it too, and.
so we have to mention this and others in this paragraph somewhere as well.
This is what pulls up to all the different licenses.
Yeah, I've been on that page before.
Yeah. Fee structure, all that stuff.
And it might mean we have to do some work to our website too, but let's come back to that at our next meeting.
Okay.
All right, are we comfortable stopping now?
You're here to accomplish whatever you'd like to do. You want to stop here and
When you wanna get to, just get through to page 10.
I mean, we can, I just wanna put it out there. Let's keep it, it's 8:04. We can keep going.
Floor plan requirement?
Yeah, let's go to floor plan. Ted, you're up.
what are we're
Floor
going,
plan,
Page.
that's an easy topic. The rest of them, they're pretty easy topics, so we can probably get through another.
floor plan?
Yeah.
Yep.
Floor plan requirement. Floor plans are required with an application. A plan drawn to scale must show the following. 1, dimensions of floor area. 2, occupancy of each room. 3, proposed location of bars and service areas. 4, seats or bench areas secured and or movable. 5, alcohol storage areas. 6, entrances and exits. And 7, all rooms not being included in the scope of the license area. Double asterisk, no expansions to the licensed premise shall be permitted without approval in advance from the Gloucester Licensing Board.
So I don't know what the double asterisk refers to. I understand the language.
Yeah, it usually an asterisk would reference you to something back, but I don't think we
Right.
need them there.
Yeah, I think we just get rid of them. Okay,
Outdoor service is allowed if the following conditions are met. 1, all plans must be signed off by the building inspector to show compliance with local zoning code and state building code. The exterior premises are enclosed by a physical barrier, which may be a fence or a rope that defines the licensed area and prevents access from a public walkway. An on-duty employee of a licensed premise is designated as a person responsible for control of the area. The exterior area is adjacent to the interior licensed premise and visible from within the interior licensed premise. 5, the licensee posts in the licensed outdoor area that alcohol beverages are not permitted outside the licensed outside area. 6, provisions are made that and maintained for the passing of the public through any contiguous public area. And 7, the licensee complies with the ABCC's guidelines for extension of premise to patio and outdoor area, provided however that the city of Gloucester may impose stricter requirements on the licenses that the ABCC guidelines licenses that the ABCC guidelines which shall prevail. That doesn't
okay,
make sense.
let's go back. There's a couple of things there. So number 4, the exterior area is adjacent. I don't like the word adjacent. I like the word contiguous, which is used in 6 because that is the contiguous is the language in the law, meaning they have to touch. So it's not just adjacent, it's not over there, because
So,
we had an issue down Rocky Neck that there was a request and the properties actually have to touch, not just be adjacent to each other. Adjacent, I think, is too discretionary.
Good.
And we need, so I think using the contiguous, which we use in the next one, the word that should be used. So then provisions are made and maintained for the passing of the public through any contiguous public area. So when would that apply? So why would there be a public area?
That applied to that Roger Street property where you had kept the harbor walkway and
Right.
through their deck. They had to leave that open and the bathrooms open. That was a condition of that. Right.
And on top side when they had on the sidewalk, which they won't do anymore too, okay. All right,
kind of a zoning
yeah,
carve out, I guess.
okay. And then 7, the licensee complies with the ABCC guidelines for extension premises patio and outdoor area, provided however, the city of Gloucester may impose stricter requirements on the licensees that the ABCC guidelines, which. So it should say that Gloucester may impose stricter requirements on the licensees that the ABCC guidelines, which shall. Yeah, all right, so this is just worded wrong. So in other words, the ABCC can come out with guidelines and Gloucester can make it stricter.
Right.
So we just need to change that.
Yeah. Could you say something like that can supersede the ABCC
The
guidelines or
city of
something like
Gloucester
that?
may impose stricter requirements on licensees that supersede the ABCC guidelines.
Period.
Okay,
Notification to the abutters, church or school. Every liquor license application requires a public hearing with newspaper publications. Within 3 days after the publication of the legal notice in the Gloucester Daily Times, the applicant shall send or cause to be sent to the mailing addresses of each abutter who owns property touching the applicant's premises an original or true copy of the legal notice by certified mail, return receipt requested. The list of abutters is determined by the city assessor's office. The abutters shall include owners of land directly opposite on any public or private street or way. The application shall present the Gloucester Licensing Board, all white postal receipts and all green return receipts, or the mailing envelopes determined to be undeliverable by the U.S. Postal Service. A mailing of legal notice to the governing body authority of the school, church, or synagogue located within a radius of 500 feet is required.
Okay.
Liquor liability insurance requirement. The general law, chapter 138, section 12, licensees shall have liquor liability insurance coverage in the amounts of $250,000 on account of death or injury to one person and $500,000 on account of any one accident resulting in the injury or death of more than one person.
I just want to stop you there. So I think we need to put a minimum coverage, and I believe most of them are doing 1 million.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if we should increase it to 1 million.
Yeah.
500,000 and 250,000 is minimal coverage these days.
I would agree.
So we
So
making,
500
we making the
is-
250, 500 and the
Yeah.
500 a million.
Yeah,
It's peanuts in the cost of a policy.
exactly.
Licensees shall file a certificate of insurance with the GLB. Licensees shall provide the GLB with a copy of the certificate of insurance upon the issuance or renewal of a license. Licensees shall notify GLB no later than 10 days prior to the cancellation or material change of said coverage. The GLB may pursuant to General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64A, 64B, 67, increase the minimal amount to require insurance coverage.
So we're doing a minimum of that, but we could ask for more insurance on one establishment versus another based on conditions.
Workers' compensation insurance requirement, all employees operating in Massachusetts are required to carry workers' compensation insurance for their employees and themselves. A workers' compensation insurance affidavit, general business is required for all applications and can be found on OpenGov. Common victuals and entertainment, the GLB strongly encourages applications to submit their application for a common victular or entertainment license with an alcohol licensing application. Submission of the alcohol license does not relieve the applicant from applying for a common victuals license or entertainment license.
Do we talk about entertainment licenses more in this document, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, it just seems weird that that's there.
that applicant doesn't need to be capitalized there.
Yeah, we'll look at the placement of this. Okay.
Change manager,
This next one is lengthy
that was it.
and long and important.
Why don't we stop before that then?
So let's stop here,
that's
because that's,
fine.
we'll come back to that. So as you can see, it's a lot of reading, but I think, if we review this over the next month until February, we can come back and probably, finish this at our February meeting. Do we want to plan on that?
Yes.
I just want to state that as we are reading these into the record, this is considered our first draft approval. And we seem to be operating under these statements and under what? Procedures as right, they capture how we've been operating. So I just want to recognize that this is a draft. We are doing corrections and adding, but we'll proceed according to what's in this draft as we go forward, unless we vote otherwise at our meeting in February. Any questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Concerns? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.